All right, does Donald Trump deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for this ceasefire? John Fetterman thinks so. I'm going to play his response and another Democrat's response pretty soon, but here's what I think he does get credit for, right? He changed Netanyahu's mind on two very important things that Netanyahu was previously um, set in stone on, right? He got him to release, I think, 2,000 prisoners, right? Netanyahu, early 2025, was like, no way we're releasing prisoners to get these hostages back. And then he got him to agree to amnesty for Hamas members, which, again, was a hardline position of his in early 2025. But Donald Trump, I believe, through like literally swearing at him, per Axios reporting, in his communications with Benjamin Netanyahu, has gotten him to agree to these positions. And as a result, it's given Hamas somewhat of a pretense to accept this ceasefire. Now, even listening to Fox News, like they don't believe it's like too good to be true. Almost, it sounds like Hamas is basically surrendering, even with the prisoner releases. And I don't know what the surrender situation is there, or if those people get amnesty or whatever. And the amnesty for Hamas members who are currently in Gaza. Why would Hamas basically agree to dissolve themselves? Like, I'm just waiting for part two of this ceasefire because I don't believe that either. Either Hamas is in a much worse position than we thought, in which case more proof that the IDF has been more effective and targeted than many pro-Palestinians would like everyone else to think. But Donald Trump does not deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for one very big reason, right? He allowed Israel to follow through with some pretty horrendous stuff under his terms, under his term, right? Like essentially trying to strong arm Hamas into surrendering by starving the entire population of Gaza for 3 months. Like, you don't deserve a Nobel Peace Prize, and still sending them aid in light of that. And that would disqualify you. Now, if you get a two-state solution, that involves pressuring both sides much more than he has been pressuring both sides, right? He has pressured Netanyahu a little bit more than Biden almost, right? Biden only really pressured them on the aid. Tony Blinken essentially said, you have to step up the aid into Gaza, because at the time it was like only 15% of what was necessary by our calculations at 300 trucks. This was like October lows, 2024. Ben Shapiro lost his mind over that. Now Trump's gotten amnesty from Hamas members and a large prisoner release, and Ben Shapiro magically has not lost his mind. But the fact that he presided over that starvation campaign, which was clearly a use of the pain of 2 million people in order to pressure a group within the 2 million people to, essentially bend the knee to a request that they wouldn't have ordinarily done out of their own instincts of self-preservation, is against international law. Approaches collective punishment depending on how you define it. But here are the Democrats talking about how good this deal is. I've not even heard what progressives think about this deal. They're mostly silent, unfortunately. They should be a little bit happier that like what they call as a genocide is now over. What I call is a massive humanitarian disaster and a war that has no apparent meaning to it, or long-term peace plan associated with it. It's also ending, so that's very good. But here are the moderate Democrats.
It's a very, very positive step in the right direction. We're all hopeful that this agreement will be finalized, that the hostages will be released in a matter of days and returned home to their loved ones. Of course, that we can surge humanitarian assistance into Gaza to alleviate the pain and suffering that Palestinian civilians have been experiencing in the theater of war for the last 2 years, and that we can achieve not just a ceasefire, but a pathway toward a just and lasting peace for both Israel and the Palestinian people.
Do you think the president deserves a Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, I mean, if this sticks, I think the whole point of having a Nobel Peace Prize is for ending wars and promoting peace. And now I'm going to make a direct appeal to the president. I hope he chooses to provide the tomahawks to the Ukrainians too. and give them the tools that they need to push back against Russia. And if he brings the Ukrainian war to its end, I'll be the Democrat leading the committee for his Nobel Prize Peace for ending both of these terrible wars.
I think the biggest problem that the President Biden had is there was no pressure from Qatar, from Turkey, from Egypt. They were actually facilitating in many ways what was going on. And that is really ultimately how it all came together.
So, I mean, but I think by saying that, it's sort of an acknowledgement Trump has changed that dynamic.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think
absolutely.
that,
I mean, he's clearly
I don't know how he,
changed
you know,
that.
and I think there's a lot that remains to learn about what prompted that change, but I do agree, yes.
John Fetterman and Hakeem Jeffries making sense here. John Fetterman's saying that Trump should send the Tomahawks to Ukraine. Of course, I agree with that, but that is no pretense for the Nobel Peace Prize. So, a Nobel Peace Prize is when you take two sides who disagree with each other, you go in the middle, and you somehow convince them to come together in some like impossible middle. So maybe Bill Clinton if his parameters worked. But they didn't, because peace is really hard when it's actually hard to do. Peace is very easy when there is already the pretenses set up, and that's what Donald Trump is facing right now. Most of his pressure was on Netanyahu. It wasn't even necessarily on Hamas. Most of that pressure was from the IDF. And on Qatar and Turkey, like Dan Goldman said, they have been the same. Like, I completely disagree with Dan Goldman. Joe Biden got Hamas headquarters to get removed from Qatar simply by requesting them. Like, Qatar is back to every single one of Joe Biden's ceasefires and hostage deals. Now, you could say that they're maybe a little bit more outspoken here because as wars go on for long enough, and if they're stupid wars like this one, then there's going to be more pushback, right? Hamas has lost a lot of credibility within Gaza, almost all of its credibility, so that plays a part in how Turkey and Qatar position themselves. So it's just Donald Trump, right place, right time with this one, or else he would have solved it in a month. But it didn't take a month. It took starving the Palestinians for 3 months, and then a few months after that, circumstances fell into place. He changed Netanyahu's mind on some very important things, and now we have a ceasefire that I am still questioning if it is too good to be true. I don't know. No one knows the state of Hamas right now. No one knows if they even have that if their leadership even has an apparatus to make this decision in a centralized way. Like, I don't even know if anyone can know that. But now at least we get aid into the Gaza Strip, and it's most likely going to be over. People are freaking out over the perimeter, like they're gonna, like it's like not a true withdrawal, but that's totally unreasonable. I think the withdrawal will be sufficient. It's just what Arab intermediary government are you gonna have? And Israel has very small trust issues. Like at this point in the conflict, their trust issues are with Palestinians, not other Arab countries. So I have no doubt that they could have good relations with the government there. But the far right wing, the religious Zionists, do have a big problem with that, as we saw, with Ben Gvir already pulling his coalition a while ago, and Smotrich obviously not liking any of this because he wants to settle Gaza. And Netanyahu does not want to settle Gaza because Trump would get mad at him. He knows, like Joe Biden didn't. I don't think he ever got really mad at Netanyahu. There was that one time where the IDF struck an aid transport vehicle, and Netanyahu and Biden got kind of mad at them, and then they opened another aid corridor in response to that. But that's the only thing I can think of. Biden never got mad at Netanyahu in a way that was end the war right now, like Trump has done. And if they settled Gaza, I think Donald Trump has had a change of heart. He wanted to settle Gaza initially. Now I don't think he does, because Trump is fundamentally a narcissist. So you have to see things a little bit differently. A growing section of the right wing are very kind of almost as much as the extreme left pro-Palestinian now. they would lose their minds if Israel settled Gaza, as would any reasonable person. And he wants to maintain credibility with them, but he also wants to maintain credibility with his Fox News audience, the only demographic of people in the world really that still supports Israel. Old white Republicans mostly listen to Fox News, right? But the Tucker Carlson coalition, the Candace Owens coalition, the Nick Fuentes, they're all falling apart, right? The so-called populist Republicans, he would never really betray that part of his base. I think if he wants a good reputation, and he obviously cares about this Nobel Peace Prize, right? He knows he has to appeal to international consensus, international authority to get something like that, and settling Gaza would be he knows that it's bad at this point. Someone must have told him, because he just loved the idea of strong arming these Palestinians, well, forcing them de facto to leave so he can make some like American owned, whatever you want to call it, Riviera, and then have all these Gazans leave, as how he put it back then. It didn't really make much sense. But Netanyahu was with him all the way on that one. Of course Netanyahu wants to settle Gaza. It's just you have to find he has to be able to do what's politically feasible, whereas his less politically conscious right wing coalition members are more tied to their ideology, and so they're losing their minds over Hamas amnesty and the prisoner release. But it's good. We'll see on Monday.